It was a rough conversation
Yeah.
because I struggled with so much shame and embarrassment and humiliation because of that failure on my part that I had to accept. That's what I had done.
Right, right.
And what I appreciate, he didn't condemn me. He didn't berate me. He affirmed me. He encouraged me. He said, Jones, I saw you throughout your high school career. I know you. I know your gifts. I know your talents. I know your skills. You are better than this. You made a mistake. You might have failed, but you're better than this. And you can overcome this. And it was like fresh wind in my sails. It really uplifted me.
On this episode of TLC Connections, Alyssa Browse sits down with J.C. Jones, school counselor and outpatient therapist, whose own story of being seen and encouraged has shaped the way he shows up for students today. J.C. shares how connection and mentorship can change the course of a young person's life, especially in moments of struggle and self-doubt. From creating meaningful relationships to helping students chart a path forward, this conversation is a powerful reminder of the impact a single caring adult can make. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to TLC Connections, the podcast where educators, counselors, coaches, and community leaders come together to inspire change, one connection at a time.
Welcome, JC. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to speak with you this morning. Of course, you work on our team in school-based services, but one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you in today is because I think that you have a really special role in Norristown. So let's just jump right into it and tell us a little bit about your role in the school district. Just start with that because you do a lot of things, but let's just start with the role in the school district.
Sure. So I am a school-based counselor in this particular role. We have branded it as a success coach. And I like to think of it in three main categories. So the one-on-one counseling and coaching work that I do, the small group work, and then this community liaison type of work. And so within those categories, that one-on-one work, I'm meeting with students during the day and we're covering a wide range of topics. And so it could be dealing with their self-confidence. It could be dealing with anxiety, depressive symptoms. Anger management was something that came up quite a bit this past school year. We might deal with social skills, communication skills, and then also dealing with their academic performance. So we're at a credit recovery school and students are coming to us with these setbacks and we're trying to get them back on track. And so helping these students to identify goals, help them to be able to complete their assignments and pass their classes. I also connect with students on developing job resumes, searching for jobs. I met with all the seniors. It's a smaller school, and so I was able to meet. We have about a little over 50 seniors and meet with all of them to make sure they have a career pathway plan because we want them to not only get to graduation, but have some type of plan for life after high school. And so that type of work. And then also I'm big on the physical fitness, the exercise, the boxing, the basketball, all of that. And so connecting with students one-on-one there. So that's some of the one-on-one work that I did. Small group, you're dealing with teenagers. And so conflict, drama. And so trying to get ahead of that and really bring them together when we would get tip-offs that maybe a fight was brewing up. And so we would try to bring them in and get them to talk to one another and come to some level of adequate peace. So even if they're not going to be best friends, they can at least coexist in the school building and really do what they're there to do, which is get their education. And so there's that. And then this past school year under this small group work, I was able to connect with the physical education teacher. And we did this competitive team games class. And we had about a dozen male students. And we were able to do a couple days of exercise, calisthenics. We were able to use games like basketball and football and volleyball and really use that to pressure test these social, mental, and emotional skills, such as communication, teamwork, good attitude, good sportsmanship, those type of things. And so, and we saw progress in their physical fitness and in those skills. And then finally, the community liaison work, just really doing a lot of that community mapping, meeting with community partners and stakeholders, and trying to leverage their resources for the benefit of the students. And so one project that I was working on was the development of the weight room. I sent you pictures of that.
Yes.
And being able to take what was once this multi-purpose space and turn it into a legit weight room. And we were able to get thousands of dollars worth of new equipment. We had heavy bags with the stands. We had brand new boxing gloves and hand wraps, jump ropes. We were able to get a power rack, free weights. And so just that was one of the ways that to take that partnership with a community stakeholder and leverage the resources for the students. So
cool.
That's an overview of my role.
Yeah. So, I think it's such a unique role. So often we are staffing schools with more typically like a school-based counselor that's doing primarily individual and group counseling, and it's more focused on mental health, coping skills, especially coping skills to help them be successful in the school setting. And I think what I like about your role, I think all of our roles are really special and important. And I like that your role was one of these things where the school came to us and they said, hey, we have this grant funding and these are the gaps. These are the areas where our kids would benefit from some more support.
Yes.
And so we were able to work collaboratively, as you know, with Norristown and kind of map out a position that filled those gaps and to be going beyond the counseling room and be doing physical exercise and engaging them in sports and thinking about their future. I think those pieces are so important. And with so much need for mental health support, sometimes we don't get some of those more, we don't get to access those more holistic areas. So I think it's so cool that we were able to do that in the school, especially in Norristown.
Yes. And I appreciate that the Lincoln Center is big on being innovative and creating those type of roles. And what I've found is that sometimes there's a barrier to students accessing the mental health because there's this stigma around seeing a therapist as a young person.
Yeah.
And so when you take that time to build that rapport, build the connection with that student through whatever means, basketball, boxing, playing chess, playing Uno, then you can start to talk about some of the mental and behavioral health issues that they may be facing.
Yeah. It's so important. And it's funny because I order a lot of supplies for our staff and people are like, oh, do we really need these supplies for the counselors? And I'm like, even an Uno game can be such an important tool to help a student feel comfortable to open up so much conversation. Like it's an important segue.
Yes.
And you mentioned something you mentioned about like the work that you're doing and being able to like integrate the basketball and things like that and how that can really help with counseling. I know that you also do outpatient counseling for TLC Wellness, which is so cool that you're kind of doing both school-based counseling and outpatient counseling. So I want to talk to you about that as well. One of the questions that I get a lot from my staff, or one of the things that come up from the staff that work in the schools, they'll say, I want work that's more clinical. I want to kind of dabble into outpatient counseling.
Right.
So from your perspective and your experience so far, what are the differences between doing school-based counseling in the school setting versus working with someone in an outpatient setting?
That is a great question. So the school-based setting, as you know, you have experience, you're with that person for a shorter amount of time. And so you may have 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then they have to get back to class because you're typically pulling them out of their class environment.
Right.
And so on the clinical side of the house, you can have 45 minutes or an hour block or more. So you have more time to really sit with that person, unpack what's going on, process. And then also what I'm noticing and what I'm learning on the clinical side of the house is just developing these treatment plans and being able to bring in different skills and modalities to better serve this patient or this client. And so that's some of the difference that I see. I would also say the school base allows me to be a little more innovative. So on the clinical side, I'm able to maybe go for a walk or something like that. But the school base, I mentioned to you, those other things that I was able to do with these young people, which I think was important for that demographic, but not able to do as much of that on the clinical side. But it's been fine because I'm noticing the clients that I've been taking on, they're okay with sitting and talking through what's going on. And that's really encouraging.
Right.
And so it's been good, but there definitely is a difference. Those are a couple I would highlight.
Yeah. I actually really like that you brought that up, that you actually have some more versatility in the school setting. Because I'll often tell folks when they say, I want work that's more clinical, I'm like, you are doing clinical work in the school setting.
Yes.
It's just different, right? It tends to be more solution focused. It tends to be more containing, meaning we need to kind of keep the emotions contained because we have to send them to class. We aren't digging into past traumas and asking about these maybe very dysregulating experiences that someone had. And then saying, okay, now go take a math test because that would be horrible.
It would be.
And not setting them up for success. So I think that's so important. And you also illuminated one of the things that I think is so special and so important about school counseling is that it's not just the counseling, right? Like you are in the halls with the kids. You are seeing them at lunchtime. You are like a community member of the school, and every adult in that building is so important to have the students see. There are adults that care about me, that want me to be successful, that are noticing me, seeing me, hearing me. And that is just, even if you do no clinical interventions all school year, that is invaluable to be able to have that,
It has such a powerful impact. So I had the privilege of being able to interview plenty of students and ask them, what has made the difference at this particular school environment? We have this smaller, more supportive school environment, and we would just see so much progress on their attendance, their behavior, the academics. And a lot of times they said, what you just highlighted is the connections. It was knowing that there are teachers and counselors that really see them, that hear them, that love them, that take that consistent time with them, whether it is pulling them into the office or just walking down the hall with them, just chatting for a few minutes. Just those small touch points make a difference. And you can tell the students that feel that, and then things start to turn around for them and they start to really grow. And it's amazing to see.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love hearing that. I get so passionate about that piece of it. I think that community thing in the school setting, that community piece is so big. So I love that.
Yes.
And then thinking kind of back, I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between outpatient and school-based, but thinking about outpatient again in the therapy sessions that you're having with adults and maybe some young people as well. You mentioned that you might take them for walks or do some different sort of non-traditional approaches, which of course there's limitations, but can you talk to us about like the different approaches that you're using?
Yes. So right now I have all adults and also all males right now. I'm open to female clients, but that's just how it happened as far as people who reached out to me. And I'm noticing that some of them, they do want to get up and move around as we're talking, which I'm all about that. I have a big background in exercise and fitness. And so some of the things, just taking that time to just stretch together while we're talking and building that rapport, icebreaker kind of moments in the beginning. And then, as I mentioned, just going for that walk and just being able to get outside and be in the sun and that vitamin D and just being able to talk about different things and then come back inside and sit down and wrap things up. So those are some of the things that I'm doing. I'm open to, we do have a basketball court here that is beautiful. It's amazing. And so I am open to doing that as well. I haven't done it yet in this setting, but I'm open to it. And then I would be open to maybe playing a game of chess or something like that. So those are the things that I've done, and then I'm open to doing some other things, and like you said, within limitation, of course.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think we're really lucky here at TLC and at TLC Wellness when we think of the outpatient side, that we have that space that we can go bring clients out there and enjoy that outdoor space. And I think that is really important and healing for folks to be able to get outside and do an activity. We do have pickleball too, so just keep that in mind.
I will. I'm going to make a note of that.
You might have someone come to you that wants to play pickleball, keep that in your back pocket.
Okay.
Back to school-based, thinking about trends that you've seen with kiddos. So you're doing this holistic work. So you're seeing mental health needs come up. You're seeing academic needs. What are some of the trends you're seeing this year with students? Some of the big needs that are coming up often?
Yes. Unfortunately, I have been seeing what people have called the breakdown of the family. So the challenges and issues in the home life that's then impacting the student, how they show up at school, how they perform at school. Dr. Leonard Sachs wrote a book called The Collapse of Parenting. And I think a lot of what he highlights in that book, I've been seeing, where he talks about parents at times being too permissive, too friendly, and abdicating that sense of authority, just setting up structure and routine and things like that, and modeling these pro-social behaviors. So I have noticed that, unfortunately. I've noticed, and I know you talk about this quite a bit, is just the addiction to the cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
That is a major factor. It's concerning. Dr. Jonathan Haidt has done a lot of work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say also a rise in obesity rates, less activity amongst young people. And so just that having some consequences on their physical health. And that ties into some of the work that I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to get them more active and moving around and stretching and exercising. So those are some of the trends that I'm noticing. And then last thing I'll say is the rise of the anxiety and depression, which I know that's been highlighted quite a bit the last few years.
Yeah. So many sort of intersecting forces here, right? Like thinking about, you're mentioning cell phone addiction and then lack of physical activity, which how intertwined are those, right?
Correct.
If we're looking at screens, we're not moving, we're not exercising. And then also thinking about how that can tie into, folks' ability to socialize, and then what's going on at home with the parents and their ability to set limits. And it's really interesting hearing that from someone who's working with children out in the world. I am a parent, and I'm in this world of there's all this messaging like on social media about how should you be parenting, and you need to be more strict, or you need to be less strict, or you need to be this and you need to be that. And it's so overwhelming of like, what should I even be doing?
I could understand that.
So yeah, it's a hard balance. And I'm sure you see sort of like the side of it where sometimes when we're paralyzed with how do we handle this, we do nothing.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm sure you see that impact the students and how they function.
Yes, I definitely do. And I do think, to your point, parents can be overwhelmed with a lot of factors, not only all the messaging that you said, but then also when you look at certain communities where our school is located. I also lived in North Philadelphia for 9 years. So these are the type of environments that I'm used to working in. And so a lot of social and economic factors that are also impacting the parents and causing a lot of struggle and conflict even with the parents. So trying to be very understanding of what they're dealing with in the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the same thing. I worked, in North Philadelphia for a few years in the school district of Philadelphia, and there were a lot of just lack of resources for certain types of families. Often families were working multiple jobs, and it was really hard to help them get the resources that they needed because they were overwhelmed with trying to feed their family.
Right.
So it's a lot. It's hard.
It's hard. And so the teachers and counselors may want this young person to do their homework, of course. That's how they're going to learn the different concepts and the skills and tools that they need. And yet you may have the parents at home working multiple jobs, and they are tired when they get home, and it's hard for them to sit down and do their homework. So just understanding the bigger factors that are going on that are impacting these young people.
Absolutely.
But those are some of the trends that I've noticed. And we are doing our level best to push back against some of those trends and be that loving and kind and empathic presence for these young people and help them overcome adversity. And so even that theme of resilience comes up a lot. That this may be your circumstances, but you don't have to stay here. This doesn't have to define you. You can overcome this. And so really presenting these young people with that type of messaging and empowering them and uplifting them so they can overcome those circumstances.
Oof, what an important message right there. Yeah, that resilience piece. I think it's so important. And I think that's why one of the reasons I'm so passionate about that like community vibe of helping students feel seen and heard. I think it's hard to build resilience if you don't have that. You can go through difficult things and not build resilience from it. It doesn't take just having like unfortunate circumstances in your life to become resilient. You have to have that level of support, someone who's helping push you along, even if they're just kind of giving you a little nudge. And even if that nudge is just a teacher saying good morning and smiling at you in the morning. They need to know that someone cares and that someone's rooting for them, especially when they have unfortunate things happening in their world.
Absolutely. I think what you're touching on is one of the reasons why so many of us coming to the helping profession, I know for myself, going through times of suffering and dark times, pain, hardship, and I was fortunate that not only did I have my parents, I had mentors, I had coaches, I had leaders that really helped me in those dark times to tap into that sense of resilience and overcome whatever that adversity may have been in that moment or that season of my life. And that shaped me. And so I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, that not only is it on that young person, but they need institutions and they need people that really love them, that have a deep sense of empathy and compassion, and just, again, just willing to give them that message and that encouragement that you can overcome this, and then walk with them through that process.
Exactly.
Let me walk with you through this process of overcoming this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So important. And so you mentioned, I love that you brought this up, because it's like, our whole theme is
Yes.
connections, and we
Yes.
love talking about ripple effects,
Sure.
things that happen in our lives that create a ripple effect and we end up where we are. And it's so fascinating how our lives can go in so many different directions.
Yes.
So I'm curious for you, kind of what brought you here to your position at TLC? What came before? What were some of the big connections or some of the big moments where you're like, this is it, this is where I want to be?
Sure. I mean, my life, so many twists and turns to my life. And I think, as so many other people, not so much one moment or one choice or one experience, but I've been shaped by many people and many experiences in my life. I mentioned to you the suffering that I've gone through, the pain, the hardship, those times, those moments. And I could tell one story on that. And then I would also, before I go there, I would say my faith and also my theological beliefs have really shaped me. The sense of seeing people as human beings who are worthy of dignity, worthy of respect, worthy to flourish in life, worthy of love, and that sense of being called to love and serve humanity, that has deeply shaped me.
Yeah.
But going back to my story, there's an experience that did deeply shape me that I'll share here. When I was coming up, K through 12, I was a stellar student. I loved learning. I loved reading. I really bought into education, and I excelled in it. When I was in high school, I did junior ROTC. And at that point in my life, my dream was to be an Army officer. And so I'm going through high school, all 4 years. I'm going through this junior ROTC program. I worked my way up to the student battalion commander position. And I built a really close bond with the head teacher over that program. He was a retired lieutenant colonel. His name is James McCahan. And because we were developing the program and the activities for the students, we really connected. And I was fortunate, I was blessed to get a full scholarship, a 4-year ride to go to a university in Virginia. And at 18, I graduate, I go off to university freshman year. And I just started to really live this hedonistic lifestyle, seeking all these pleasurable activities, and I was avoiding going to class and doing the hard work and taking the tests. And so I ended up failing multiple classes.
Wow.
And I was pulled into the office of my leadership at that time, who oversaw the senior ROTC program and that scholarship. And they told me that they were going to strip me of my scholarship and that I was being kicked out of school.
Wow.
I'm 18 years old.
Yeah.
And now my dream is, in a sense, ripped from me.
Yeah.
It was a major loss. It was a devastating blow.
Right.
And I was very disoriented at that time in my life. And I started working construction. I started working at a grocery store. So just trying to pay bills, make ends meet.
Yeah.
I'm young. And I'm just realizing that I'm not satisfied with life, where I was at. And one day I'm at the grocery store, and I happened to see Lieutenant Colonel James McCahan from high school.
Wow.
We hadn't seen each other in over a year.
Wow.
And he says, "Hey, Jones, how you doing? How's school? How's college?" and all of that. And I was honest with him.
Yeah, rough conversation.
It was a rough conversation because I struggled with so much shame and embarrassment and humiliation because of that failure on my part that I had to accept. That's what I had done.
Right, right.
And so I was very honest with him. It was a rough conversation. And what I appreciate about Colonel James McCahan. He didn't condemn me. He didn't berate me. He affirmed me. He encouraged me. He said, Jones, I saw you throughout your high school career. I know you. I know your gifts. I know your talents. I know your skills. You are better than this. You made a mistake. You might have failed, but you're better than this. And you can overcome this. And it was like fresh wind in my sails. It really uplifted me. But it was more than words with him. He said, give me your number. I'm going to make some calls, and I'm going to see if there's an opportunity for you.
Wow.
And so 2 weeks later, he calls me, and he says, hey, there's a small military academy out in Missouri. If you're willing to pack your bags up and take the trip out there, you may have another shot at ROTC and pursuing your Army officer career, your dream.
Yeah.
I jumped on it. Jumped on it, and I packed my bags. And that summer, I had been out of school for several months. And so I went out there that summer and started the new year. And I just locked in. I mean, I really maximized that opportunity. I was focused on my physical fitness, going into the gym, connecting with some friends. My academic performance went up, just really studying and locking in on my classes. Started going to church, and so developing that spiritual community where people really loved on me and cared for me and showed me a lot of empathy, and also that moral formation. And so I really grew, and I was at about 19 at that time. And that connection with Colonel James McCahan, it was so transformative. Not only what he did for me while I was in high school, but then after high school, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do that.
Right. It's amazing.
Just that level of love and care to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
This man didn't even have to be in the high school. He could have just sailed off on his retirement from the military.
Yeah.
But he chose to work with us young people. So that's what I mean when I say I've gone through dark times and suffering. And I'm blessed that I've had people that saw me in that and walked me through that, gave me opportunities and built that resilience in me. So that's one moment that shaped me, and it shaped my heart and my mind to then help others and uplift others. And that's what I see myself doing now as a counselor, as a therapist.
That's so cool. I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So many parts of it really stood out to me. One of the things was that he was so supportive and not punitive towards you. Like it could have gone in so many different directions. You know, you shared that you already had shame. You already felt guilty about your choices and about what happened. So him responding to you with love and with understanding and with like guidance instead of saying, what's wrong with you? Why would you do this? Right. Like, I think it's so important. There's, you know, sometimes this perception that we need to be hard on people. We need to focus on discipline. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a relationship with someone, if you don't feel supported and loved by that person, discipline is pointless, right? Like you have to have that foundation of love and care and empathy before you're going to respond to that.
Absolutely.
Before you're going to be able to listen to someone when they say, you know, don't go that way, go this way.
Yes. As they say, connect before you correct.
Exactly.
So yes, you have to have that. And when that's there, what young people are able to do is amazing.
Yeah.
And so to even just cap off that story, I was able to get back on scholarship. The government wiped away the debt from those failed classes.
Wow.
I didn't have to pay that back.
Amazing.
And I was able to commission as an Army officer and fulfill that part of what my dream was at that time. But it's because I had people, I had support.
Yeah.
And so, yes, so when you're able to make those connections, like you're saying, more than just the being punitive, but really connecting with them, what they're able to accomplish, it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah. That's really amazing. And I love how you were able to go and pursue this dream and that, you know, you get to kind of do that work now. You get to help students see that regardless of what they're doing now or what mistakes they might have made, like they can be successful and that we all do stuff that isn't in our best interest sometimes. And sometimes we just need support and guidance and So cool.
Yes.
The other thing that really stood out to me that I was thinking about with your story is values. I think values is so important, and I think we should be talking with kids about values starting at a very young age.
Agree.
It really like shows when you were living not aligned with your values, how distressing that was for
Yes.
you, like, and how it just threw you off your path. But when we're able to really commit to what is most important and really think about, what do I want for myself? Who do I want myself to be? Where do I want my life to go? Like, if we can think about that every day, it can help the decision-making process of just daily life so much more easy, and it can just, it's so helpful and important.
That's powerful what you just said.
Yeah.
That values-based living
Yeah.
and developing the vision for your life based on your values,
Yeah.
based on this person that you want to become,
Right.
who you want to be. And it does make those decisions a little more simple, not always easy, but simple, because you start to realize these are the things I need to stop doing because it's not conducive to my values or my vision of the man or woman that I want to become. So that's powerful
so
what you're
true.
saying.
So true. And like, I love how you clarified that. It's not easy. You're right. It's more simple. It's
Right.
more like a lot of the decisions start to fade away because it's clear what
Yes.
you need to do.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean it's easy.
Yes.
There's lots of things that are hard to resist.
Sure.
It is hard to make the right choice sometimes.
Sure.
But it does become more clear what you need to do.
It does. And similar to strength training with the resistance, as you start moving in that direction, then you start to build some muscles in that sense. And so you are able to live more aligned with your values. And so I think that's a good concept. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yes, to your point, we need to do a lot more of that with our young people.
Yeah. I love the metaphor about the muscles too. I used to use that all the time in the school setting where we would practice like mindfulness exercises or certain coping skills. And, sometimes kids or even like adults that I've worked with, it'll be like, oh, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, that's normal, right? Like, it's like the first time you go and do weight training, you're not going to do, I don't know, I can't think of a good example, but you're not going to do a million bicep curls with a heavy weight, right?
Right. Or put 300 pounds on the bar and do bench press. Yes.
There you go.
You have to work your way up.
Yeah.
Did you, if you don't mind me asking, did you see people grow in some of those meditative practices or certain practices that you were presenting? Did you see them grow over time in that?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, in my experiences working both in school districts and working in outpatient doing IOP with adults, I definitely saw so much growth with people. I mean, I've been so fortunate to work in so many different settings in my clinical career, and I've just seen such incredible things. And it's a special field. It really is.
It is. It's meaningful work, and I think when we see those results, it reinforces the why, the purpose behind us being in the field. It's challenging work, but it is deeply, deeply meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorites was I was doing a field placement. This was actually before I even finished my master's, but I was doing field placement in a school setting. And I was doing teaching kids in third grade meditation.
Okay.
And so we would do a special guided meditation, every time I came in, once or twice a week. And, they were pretty resistant to it at first. It's hard to get third graders to stay calm and sit still. But by halfway through the year, I would have students requesting, Miss Browse, can we do meditation today? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, always.
That's awesome. Was that in Philly?
That was actually in Western Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I had some when I worked in North Philly, I was working with elementary age, and that was really special too. I love working with all ages, but there is something a little extra special about the really little kids and watching them develop coping skills because they're such little sponges. They absorb everything.
It's such a formative stage of life for them.
Yes.
And it's amazing. I did an internship in elementary school, and they see you as a rock star.
Yeah.
You walk in the building, and they're like, Mr. Jones.
Hugs all around.
You feel amazing working with the kiddos. Then you get the teenagers, they want to be more cool and nonchalant and all of that. So, but you earn their trust and respect over time.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so cool to have the background that you've had too and the experiences that just gives you an extra layer of empathy, and understanding with the students you're working with.
Yes.
So, yeah. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for sharing your story. And thank you so much for being here, JC. It was great having a discussion with you today. Is there anything final that you want to leave the listeners with, like any final thoughts or pieces of wisdom?
First, thank you for having me. It's been a good discussion, and I really appreciate you having me on the podcast, and I love the work that you all are doing.
Thank you.
Final words. I would say to people that are listening that suffering is part of life,
Mm.
that we will go through hard times, challenges, issues, dark seasons, but with that loving, kind, empathic care of other people and the skills and tools that we have within ourselves, we can overcome that adversity, whatever it may be in those circumstances, and move towards, as we were saying earlier, that vision of our life that's more aligned with our values.
Yeah.
So I would just end with that message. I think that's an important theme in my life that I want to highlight. So
Yeah.
I'll end with that message, and hopefully that encourages people who may be listening.
Nice. Yeah. Connections are everything. So
Yes.
thanks so much, JC.
Thank you.
TLC Connections is supported in part by the Lincoln Center for Family and Youth. Through education, counseling, coaching, and consulting, we empower people to make positive choices, meaningful connections, and transformational change. To learn more, visit thelincolncenter.com.